Ladies and gentlemen, friends, colleagues and listeners, here we are early in the new year and we've got another podcast guest and everybody knows him, even though he's disguised himself as an Australian outbacker or something, but it's Mr. Steven Polmans. Nice
Good
to have
evening.
you on board, Steven.
Hello, Chris. Nice to be here again. Always a pleasure.
Hey, and looking forward to this one, my friend, because we've got a little announcement.
Yes, indeed.
And it's got nothing to do with you getting married shortly, but it is to do with...
It's more important news.
Oh, let's hope Lise doesn't hear this podcast.
I will keep it secret from her for the moment.
Yeah, so the announcement is...
that I've taken a decision on my next position and my next step in my career, and I have decided to join Nallian and continue working on something very close to my heart, the digitization efforts in our industry.
Very good. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you very much.
Now, how do you think that'll be received?
That's already a difficult question immediately. I think that for some people, they will say, yeah, of course, that's logical. We knew this already months ago. Other people might think, isn't that a step back? Other people might think, I think there's going to be a mix of reactions. But honestly speaking, I think that the majority of people will see that in the past years that talking about digitization, I've always been very open-minded, putting digitization forward, and that continuing this story makes sense. So in general, I'm not too worried about the reactions.
Well, I'm one of the ones that was not surprised, because to be honest with you, I thought it was a natural progression. Yeah. And the fact that you enjoyed, and you could tell how much you enjoyed what you were doing, Steven, for the last several years. And I know you're somebody that, you have to keep stimulated and focused. Otherwise, you'd get bored, and you love that energy and excitement. So for me, it was a logical step because you've lived it, you've loved it, and now you're going to get the chance to sell it. So as, as chief customer officer, you're going to get the chance now, to, as they say, do what it says on the can. You've got a great opportunity. I think it's going to be such an exciting period for you, and I'm so pleased for you.
No, thank you very much, and the passion, how you express it, gives me comfort, and at the same time, the expectations you are creating makes me already a bit stressy. But the fun thing is indeed that you said it. I knew this already a few months in a sense that it's a natural step. I think I've been looking too far a little bit and outside Brussels a little bit, just to avoid too much kind of reflection that it's always Brussels. And only a few weeks ago, Jean, who is the CEO of the company, he said to me, Steven, I have to ask you something, because if I don't do it, maybe I'm going to regret later, and maybe it's not of something that interests you, but no interest to join us. We are growing very strong. I mean, you have been very passionate about this. You know us, we know you. And that was something like a question that you say, okay, never thought about it, but it makes sense. And then suddenly, indeed, it went pretty quickly. So yeah, I'm happy. I'm excited.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, I mean, you had a great relationship. You both shared this. You both shared success. You both engaged with what you were doing, and now you got the opportunity to replicate it. So everything that you've done with Brussels, and like we said on one of the previous podcasts, it's nice to see now the way airports are sort of like twinned with, and they're learning from each other and they're getting involved. And one of the most important things for us now as we come out of this pandemic and look at moving forward as an industry is that data sharing and making things easier and making things more logical in the steps. There's nothing worse than having that frustration that was there for so many years. I mean, many of the conferences, people are saying, if something makes sense, why on earth not do it? Why can't people embrace it and open their arms to it,
Absolutely. And one of the other advantages of them knowing me is that I don't have to explain them that I'm grumpy in the morning. So that is already one thing that is clear, and they know what to expect. But I do agree with you on the communities and the airports. I think that in the past few years, a lot of airports and airport communities really started working on content.
Yep.
And it's not only Brussels, but if you see what Liège is doing, the Amsterdam community, uh, even more than the airport itself, but also Frankfurt community, but also Singapore, Miami, Dallas. They are really starting to not making this kind of agreements purely commercial, that they are linked to each other and see it as a commercial thing.
Yep.
It's really also supporting each other on operational efficiency, and where they can really strengthen each other. And I think that's a very good evolution, because I'm still a strong believer that airports and airport communities are natural clusters of collaboration that can really make a bigger difference than looking at lane levels or global levels. And for me, that's a natural first step for collaboration.
Yeah, yeah. And although by nature of the game and the industry we're in, everybody is competing with everybody else. But at the end of the day, they're also part of a much, much bigger picture and framework. And I can't remember now, but it must be at least 10 or 12 years when we were talking about why do people not focus on growing the cake instead of fighting over the slices now. And if people do it together, it makes the industry much, much more stronger, much, much more efficient, sustainable. And that's a word that's going to be hanging around now for a long time. So people need to be more efficient. So out of the frustrations, came the ideas, and then you guys put the plan in place. You've got a good partner there. You've made a process that's pretty transparent and of use, and the performance speaks for itself. And now you're going to go out there and sell the proof of concept.
That's the idea. That's the expectation of the CEO.
And you can have a T-shirt, with "I did, you can, now we will."
Yeah, I've written it down. Do I need to pay a commission if I start using it, or can I have it free of charge, like for the first year or something?
It all depends how good it is. If it's going well, I'll tap you up. If not,
okay,
no
deal.
No, but seriously, I think it's a great thing that you're doing, Steve. And if anybody's going to be able to promote it and push it, it'll be yourself.
Yeah.
And the
And
thing
again,
is,
I hope that it really contributes not only to the company itself, but really to this industry. Yeah? I have been working for an airport, which is a community, but working for a company now, I still have this DNA inside of myself that wants to contribute to the industry, because I still believe there's going to be more for everybody. Yeah, that is not going to be away.
Yeah. And I think one of the motivators for getting, you said it about being grumpy in the morning, but joking aside, a big motivator for getting up and doing what you do or how and what time is about caring,
Yeah.
And when people genuinely care, it's infectious. It comes across and it lets others see it. And one of the things that I was always an admirer of is your support for the next generation and the youngsters, many of which I've loved having up on a stage together, getting them to do their presentation. And they're superb, Steve.
Yeah.
And they'll never forget that first chance. And please God, in years to come, when somebody who's not a real journalist like myself, but somebody who sits there and asks them a question and says, "Who gave you the chance? Who was your mentor?" And they'll say your name, and that's a great legacy, mate. It's really, 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 really good thing to have.
And that is also something I really enjoyed. I will try to continue in future, working with young people and making them excited for this industry. So absolutely. And the good thing, Chris, is the best questions never come from real journalists. So take that in mind.
Yeah, thank you. That's a little bit of a return under the table. Yeah, I like that one, mate. Yeah, but seriously, the team that you put together, and everything that they achieved, you must be so proud of that as well. And that's a great legacy, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really fun if you can move on, and if you can look back and you can see that you have built something that is there to last, that can continue with great people. Yeah, absolutely. That gives a very good feeling, and I'm very proud of that.
Yeah. And over the years that I visited Brussels, you can see the difference. And then when you speak to people and you meet them, even in the big canteen and everything, people, they're so positive about it. So it's a very genuine thing.
Yeah, Absolutely. And that again is the nice thing, is that having more Belgians at conferences, having all the new real estate, and what always was a Belgian guy from its nature is pretty critical, especially about ourselves. It's a Belgian nature, we are not having this kind of chauvinism that the Dutch have. But if you then see in all these years and how people now can be very positive, proud of what's happening in Brussels, that's really nice. I got some text messages from people I have never worked with. They are working in an office at a forwarder in Brussels, and I suddenly, when they read that I'm leaving, they're saying, "Thanks for what you did for this community. You brought it to another level." Whoa! Honestly, that makes your day, that makes your week. That people without any direct, but who are experiencing what's happening in a whole community. Yeah, that's the best compliment anyone can get. Yeah, that really makes me happy. Yeah.
No, it is, and it's so important, and I think even more so now. And as we come out of this pandemic, people are going to start looking around, and they're going to be thinking to themselves, through no fault of their own, they've been displaced. Lots of people have lost jobs. Hopefully, please God, as many as possible will come back as things come back. But they've lost jobs, and I know I would say to anybody, when you're now looking to be employed, you need to put pressure on the company that's going to employ you, not the other way around, because it's your life you're giving. They're giving you a job. You're dedicating your life to them. So I think people need to now look at organizations that develop their people, that focus on sustainability and continuity, are aware of risk. They genuinely have senior management commitment into the fabric of the business, not just growth and revenues. All the things that most people maybe took for granted and didn't focus on. I think now they really need to, to make that a key indicator for which company they want to stay with, which company they want to join, and why do they want to join certain companies.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you work with the young people, and especially the ones who are having the right skills to, not just the brains, but also the attitude to make it in this world, they care about this. They talk about this. They do ask the different questions, and for them it's more, what can I learn? How can you keep me motivated? And you have to work differently with them. So absolutely, every company will have to do it differently coming out of this pandemic, and all the things we have been talking about before the pandemic, when we talk about sustainability and not just environmental, but also the way we deal with people and finding that balance between planet, people, profit. It's going to be basic, because these people, that's how they live their lives.
Yeah, Steve, I love that that reference to sustainability with the 3 Ps. And it's so important that people look at them all from a different angle, because so many are focused on the planet, which is great, and that's the way it should be. But without the people and the full support and understanding and appreciation, and also respect for certain things that they don't know so well, but profit, because that's what enables everybody to focus on the planet. And if you look at some of the issues that have been going on with electric vehicles, electric equipment, lots of people would convert, but it's so expensive, and also there isn't the power supply at lots of airports.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, this is a good example of once again showing, if we as an industry, and we can always start complaining about the fragmentation, if we want to move forward, it's going to be together or it's not. It's the only way. And therefore, I also think that having the 3 Ps and that alignment, it also starts creating more and more a mindset from everybody involved that the collaboration is needed. And again, therefore, I really appreciate these airport communities more than airports itself, because those airport communities are, for me, the true collaborative mechanism that is going to make a difference.
Yeah, and also, Steve, now with this ecosystem, that the airports now need to bring that community together so that they all fit into a bigger picture, and they market and sell as an airport community. So cargo now has stepped up. It's all of a sudden it's able to put on its shirt and tie and hold its head up high, because everybody has really appreciated the role that cargo is playing, especially over this last year. I mean, it's incredible.
Absolutely.
It's incredible, huh?
Yeah, it has been a lot of free publicity for cargo.
Yeah.
And if you talk about the 3 Ps, about the profit part, cargo has been the lifeline of many stakeholders in aviation industry, airlines, airports, handlers.
Yeah.
Without cargo, a lot of issues would be much worse. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, what a shame. It's because of what's happened, but nonetheless, it's something that the cargo community should take and run with now, because there's a good 18 months of solid work. The other thing is, I think what's been achieved in the last year is probably equivalent to 5 to 10 years under normal circumstance. So,
absolutely,
even with your role in Tiaka, the regulators, representative bodies, the amount of things that have been pushed through and clarified, and people have been motivated to deliver, has been exceptional, because now there's more enablers than there are blockers. And, it's made a big difference to the industry. Huh?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've said it a few times, and I fully agree with you. I think what COVID is doing for us, the pandemic, is it's speeding up everything in 5 years' time. And we have to learn from it, because air cargo is as important every year as this year. Why suddenly we get this free publicity? How come we do not manage as an industry to get this message out in other times? That's a responsibility we need to take.
Yeah.
How come that suddenly when it is necessary, we can change in weeks? How come that if there is no external pressure, that it takes us a year of discussion to make only a tenth of that progress? So let's get these takeaways as an industry, because it is possible. Yes, we can do this. We have shown. So let's continue doing it, but do it from the internal drive, and not because some virus is pushing us to do things.
Yeah, 100%. And that'll be a huge catalyst in bringing new people into the industry who've been so impressed with what they've seen, either in their school years or looking at what's happening and now wanting to get into the industry with their new mindset, which will bring about other good positive changes as well. So it's a wonderful thing that's moving forward.
Yeah, even my family thinks for the first time that in my job I've been doing something good, because we are shipping these vaccines. So I even have to do still a lot of work to do personally towards my my family and friends. So
No, it's great. We had Nick Careen on this week, and I mean he's I love his company, and I always respect the way he addresses things, and I likened him to a street fighter, one who, no matter how good they get, they always remain hungry but also humble.
mm-hmm.
He's got a great way of putting things across. Now, we were talking about the IATA Reboot, the Reboot program, which is basically what every airport and every business at an airport is going to have to do. So what you are doing in your new role, and some of the buzzwords and the statements that surround your cloud of services and apps, like use what you need, data sharing, obviously sharing a single version of truth. I love that one. But the word I really love, which is something that wouldn't surprise me if you had anything to do with, was deduplication.
Yeah.
Deduplication. My God, the amount of repetition and duplication that we got in our industry, and slight variations of things. If that can be done, it'll just streamline and get rid of such a legacy of waste. It'll be fantastic.
Yeah. And what is for me the biggest concern in this industry is that when you talk to some managers and you manage to take away this kind of duplication, but also some other inefficiencies, they don't see it anymore as inefficiencies, but they have like embraced it as it's normal. We have to accept it. And that is for me something, at a certain point, we are so operationally focused. We are so much involved and so much in the, how should I say it decently? I'm going to say it directly, in the shit up to our eyes, that we can't see that only 2 meters from us, there is a nice green grass.
Yeah.
And we think that the whole world is full of shit, which is not the case. And it's this kind of behavior change, because a lot of things we need to do, it's not about the technical solutions. There are so many clever people that can do things that we have no idea about. It's change management, it's behavior change that we need to establish in this industry.
Yeah, 100%. You just reminded me something now. When obviously I was young a long time ago. I don't need you to say it, but a long time ago. And my brothers, we used to spend a lot of time back at the family in Ireland, and all farmers. And the thing that always I can remember from being so young, thinking, why won't the cows go into a fresh new field when we take them back from being milked if the ditch has been opened up? And they still go back to where they were familiar, even though the grass isn't as good there. And like my Uncle Joe used to say to us, come on, right now, we've got to teach them how to go into the new field. And then you close up that ditch so they don't go back to the one they were used to. And it's a little bit like that, you know, people are more comfortable where they think they're comfortable rather than the opportunities, you know, somewhere new. It's a crazy phenomenon that, you know, change and transformation is something that you should reject and be fearful of, when, you know, it's all about learning. And if you keep learning, you keep growing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a nice phrase to use towards the industry. We don't want to be the cows of this world, but it shows that for one reason or the other, change is for us even a bigger step to take than discomfort. We rather have the discomfort of every day than going for the change and the unknown. Even if we have a high um, expectations that things will be better,
Yep.
change is something that blocks people, and that is, yeah, that's something you have to take in mind. That is really the biggest thing we need to overcome.
Yeah. Now you spent a lot of your own personal time with some of the people that came into your organization. Now I keep saying as well, I've been on lots of courses, I've given courses, I've seen certain types of people. And the one thing that I think is necessary now is to have a completely new approach on how to not teach people, but how to coach and support people in dealing with this new environment so that they embrace things more, so that they're not worried about audits or checklists, or that they, you know, findings. They should see those as positive things, because it's a little bit like going to the doctors. And if he takes one look at you and says, okay, away you go, I'll see you again in the year, you say, oh, well, I know I do anyhow at my age. I make sure he checks the oil and everything. So they've got to do what they should do, because the quicker you find something, the, you know, the easier it is to fix it or to address it. So that fear element, or I don't know what it is, or it's just something now that needs to be broadened and needs to be encouraged to be new, so that, like you said, we're better prepared to do things quicker and more openly and communicate better and be more engaged. And that way people enjoy being at work.
Yeah, absolutely. And this has always been something that was for me always something I didn't understand, but actually it's very logical. Then we come to this blame culture we have in this industry.
Yep.
If a handling agent can give transparency on data, the first thing that will be done is not to use it together with them to improve things. It's to blame that he made a mistake over there. And the moment you risk that, well, if you have a dog and you hit him every time, well, the next time he sees you coming, he's going to hide.
Yep.
And that for me is, again, why can't we use all the tools available, but to improve things and to work together, and rather than being that protective attitude and being ready that when things go wrong, I can blame somebody else in the logistical chain. No, guys, we want it to be good, and we can do that together. And therefore we use the data, and therefore we use the solutions, not only to look at our own part of the chain, but to look at the whole chain.
Yep. 100% agree. And then you've got, like you say, data and you know, data driven decision making is much better than, you know, people responding and reacting or overreacting. And it's something that should be welcomed. And it's that cultural, I don't know what it is. It's a crazy thing that we've got in the industry, and probably not just our industry, but if we can overcome that, it'll be so much better. And if you can enjoy being at work, the one thing that I used to love when I was surrounded by people is, if every single day you had a proper belly chuckle, you knew that things weren't that bad.
Yeah,
you know, true. And if you could hear people laughing, or you were involved in the laughter, or you could make them laugh, you know, then at least things were enjoyable. And talking to Salem earlier, and a lovely saying, if you do what you love, you will never work another day. Yeah. And I think it's very obvious that you're doing what you love. It's always been that way, because I think that's what keeps you so high and so energetic. But
love what you do what you love. It's the same thing. Yeah.
Exactly. But for a lot of people, it's okay to accept that you work to live, you don't live to work. So if they understand that you've got to work to live, then at least if it's being done in the best possible way and you can like it, I think that makes a huge difference as well. And a lot of that is to do with leadership, motivation, a bit of fun at work, but also having the right culture. And we've spoken so many times about a just culture and safety. In our business, that is so important, to be open and for people not to be frightened to identify and report when things aren't going the way they should.
Yeah, absolutely. And coming back on your earlier statement that you have people for whom work is okay to be work and very strict, I don't really believe it. And okay, you always have gradations in how engaged you can be, but even for those people, if there's more fun at work, they will enjoy as well. Eh? I
Yeah.
hired somebody in my team, and she said to me at a certain point, she was unionized, and I work pretty strict my hours. I don't work in the evening, but I felt that there was a click with that person. I said there is more in it. Eh? After 3 months, we had an event in the evening, and I didn't even ask her because she didn't work in the evenings, and she started doing it by herself. And I went to her and said, you don't work in the evenings, you said. So what are you doing here now? She said, I'm enjoying. Eh? So I really believe that if you have this right culture, that
Yeah.
everybody likes to go to a place where it's more fun. Nobody likes to drag on to work and do you expect that everybody is going to be the driving part? No, you need everybody in the team and you need different people.
Yeah.
But everybody wants to have an enjoyable time. Otherwise, it's long, eh? It's long hours, eh?
It is. It is. And like you said, it's like any team. You know, you can't always be the centre forward or the top goalkeeper. You might have to be the left back or the right back, or you know, and it's all part of the team. And if the team wins and they win together, it's much more enjoyable than doing things on your own.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, as far as the new role, okay. So some of the products, obviously, you know, some of them are obvious, but they're done very well. So the slot booking makes huge sense, and it's made sense for a long time. And people that have used it, you know, they're advocates of the benefits and how many hours it can save them a month, etc., which is all money, and it's all efficiency, which is great. And the kiosk self-registration. But the one that I wanted to ask you about is the one about the checklists.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, something as simple as that. Okay, as simple as that, which can cause so much problem and frustration and negativity and also zero benefit because it either comes back in too late or people just do a tick box exercise or they understand what they've got to do, but they don't appreciate why they have to do it. So, you know, that check, can you just explain to me now why you think that is such a good, simple yet effective tool?
Yeah. And I think the one of the reasons why it's so good is because of its simplicity. You would be surprised how many checklists we use on a daily basis, too often still on paper, and don't do anything with it because it's mandatory. And when things go wrong, yes, then we start looking for that checklist and see what's happening. And that goes from a DGR checklist to a pharma acceptance checklist, but also on stock inventories and so on and so on. And these checklists go on. Why can't we bring them together so you can digitize them? So what is one of the benefits? You can start instructing people what to do. I'm not going to say you make it more idiot proof, but you make it more efficient. Because if you start doing a DGR check for a certain airline, automatically the checklist will know, okay, you're doing it for this airline. Do remember they have specific questions for this and this and this. If you do an acceptance checklist, by just scanning the airway bill, he will already know, oh, it's for this airline. You have to check this and this and this. You bring this all together. You bring it into dashboards. You can see, as an airline, you would basically be able to see from headquarter point of view, any acceptance on a DGR on a global level, you can centralize. You can perfectly see on a daily basis how many DGRs, what is the checks, why are the errors being made, what are the customers doing it. But also for us in Brussels, we bring all these checklists together on pharmaceuticals. We can see what's the quality of deliveries to the handling agents. Where do we see issues? We can create transparency and we can say to a forwarder, do you know, and only he gets the information, but do you know that your average rating on DGRs being accepted on first instance is only 72%, while the average is 92%?
Yeah.
You create transparency. They are shocked. They start working. What do we do wrong? But we can tell you because we have all this data. I can tell in Brussels and saying this line on the DGR is the biggest problem for the community. But we can also say for you guys, it's this. One step further, we have a shipment coming in from the federal from food perishables, and they need to be checked by the federal agency of the food chain of the safety.
Yeah.
Instead of doing this manually, now they can do it with a checklist automatically. It goes into the system. They can see it in their office, and we can halve the time needed because they don't have to leave the office, and the inspector in the warehouse, they can check 3, 4, 5 shipments. They are automatically collected. Somebody else can do the paperwork. There are so many process improvements we can do with simple use of checklists, and we can make them. They are a database where you can pick just the ones you want. You can create an account that you can make checklists for anybody. We have a company who started doing it for the DGRs. They are now using it for their cleaning services to do checks if the cleaning was done. It is in the same system, very cheap, very simple, on a phone, on an iPad, and it all comes together, and all the data communication elements linked to it can go automatically. You don't have to start typing over. You don't have to do rechecks or need. It's all in the database.
Yep, 100%. I totally agree with you. And it's also then there to to endorse the fact that you've got a quality system. It satisfies lots of accreditation criteria, regulatory criteria, and it's good for internal self-assessments, zone management, whatever you want to call it. I think it's superb. And the fact that you can put pictures, you've got drop downs, you've got linked directly to real-time dashboarding. And if people know that their KPIs are linked to real-time reporting and you've got a system that can provide it, then it's also good.
Yeah, and one of the strengths what we are doing is we link all these systems. So today, if you have the slot booking system and you're using it as a handling agent and you're offloading cargo and there is damage, you can automatically use the check it tool to make the damage report, take the pictures. It's in your system, and the forwarder automatically, thanks to the fact that they use the slot booking, also get that damage report and the pictures immediately, not 2 days after. You don't need to do a fax. You don't have to go to the office and make the report, take the pictures. It's all with interfaces linked to each other, and it's like simplicity plus simplicity and more simplicity. And that's the whole idea about it, because you want blue collars to use this kind of tools. They should understand it, not the managers. They should like to work with it.
Yes, 100%. And the more they understand why, the better it is, and the more focus they'll put on something rather than just being told, do this, go over there and get that. It's just it's individual effort instead of, working out what the whole purpose is.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, my friend, listen, what do you think? What do you think? Now I'm going to ask you a little question off the wall here now. What do you think you'll be able to look back on this time next year, please God, and say, do you know something? This is what I wanted to do, and I think I've done it. What do you think those key milestones will be?
Oh, Chris. On a personal note,
Yeah.
I want to have that next year. I can say, wow, it's so much fun. I did a change. I'm not regretting it. I have again full of energy, new ideas, more ideas, and I have the feeling that that I'm in the midst of my career, but that I'm going to need at least another 50 years to do everything that I have in my mind. That would be a fun one. And on the rest. One of the reasons why I chose Nallian as well is because they allow me to continue with Tiaka.
Yep.
I think with Tiaka we have done some great changes. We have been really pushing for an increased governance model to get rid of the old Tiaka, that boys club, and really make it a modern association based on strong ethical principles, but running it like a company would be run. And with Glyn now coming on board, I really also look forward that next year, normally when I'm stepping down as chairman, I can really look back at Tiaka and saying, we did all these changes, and this year we were able to execute them, and I'm leaving an organization behind that is much stronger than the one that I got in my hands when I became the chairman. And that is also something that, despite that I'm working for a company, I would really be keen see that happening. And the more we can can increase that collaboration between companies, between single, because very often people come to me and say, yeah, but for that cloud, we need to have a community. No,
Yeah.
guys, if you are a single handler, you reach out to a community that check it, that's something you use internally. That slot booking, it's purely internally, but you always reach out to a community, because this is the natural way of how we operate. We are not Amazon.
Yeah.
So you're always part of a, so even if you do it only for yourself, it is going out to a community, and
Yeah.
collaboration needs to be there on anything. So any improvement on collaboration, any further growth in that mindset for collaboration, if we can do that as an industry all together, then I'm not afraid of the competitor. I'm very convinced, that's also why I'm joining them, that their products, because of the simplicity and the fact that you don't need a whole system change before being able to use them, but then there's going to be enough growth for everybody, and we will take the bigger slice of the cake, but there will be enough cake for everybody to go home with a full stomach.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's ideal. And let me ask you now, with your involvement, and you've seen what's happened over your time with Brussels, and how the community betters by being together. So when you look at so many airports now around the globe, and you look at the way the airports are sort of, they're naturally falling now into what they themselves consider to be a pro cargo airport, to be a pro growth airport, to be a pro infrastructure, easier to use airport. So they're looking at all of the things that the successful larger airports have started to bottleneck, and they're using the alternatives as USPs to promote their own airports.
Marketing is a dirty animal.
Huh?
I'm reading a book. It's The Infinite Game, and I'm a strong believer that as a company, that authenticity is also becoming very important. If you don't do what you say, and if you don't say what you do, people see it, and at a certain point, you lose confidence. So people saying that they want to be in a cargo airport, or that they are a cargo airport, everybody in the industry knows if this is marketing, or if they are genuine and really interested in cargo. So if we are really making that progress, and a lot of airports are seeing the benefit of cargo, then I have no problem that everybody gets more interested, because it will also push everybody forward to become better and to be more critical. If Liège says that they are very focused on cargo, they can do, because they have shown and they have proven for years now,
Yeah.
that they are passionate and dedicated to cargo. There are other airports, and I'm not going to mention names, but everybody knows, if you are putting cargo in a less important ranking in your structure, don't try to sell it as if you're making an improvement.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you have a strategy that works, if you don't need it, if there is a change, don't fake. That is not going to last. Everybody has to play its strength, and everybody has to be direct, but don't bullshit too much. That is not going to last.
Yeah. 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 So that's another tick box. There'll be no bullshit from Mr. Polmans in his new position.
Honestly, probably there is in a fun way, but I love this industry so much. And one thing that is really important for me, and we know each other already a long time, Chris,
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
you are working with Saudi, also coming to Brussels, if I would be bullshitting you and we would be sitting here now, that would not work.
No. No.
So what is really important for me is that we are not in a door-to-door sales process. We are in a B2B, in a very small world. If I do too much bullshitting to you, I close doors, not only in this part of my career, but also afterwards. And this is a small world, and this is a too much fun world to do it that way. I don't believe in that. The product should sell itself, and not the bullshitting from Steven.
Yeah. And it's also for the long game.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, now if you were now to write your own purpose, okay, for the business that you're going to be focusing on in your new role, and I'm just putting you under a little bit of pressure here, what would the purpose be? So forget all these fancy mission statements and visions, just something very simple that, please God, if I bumped into you in 20 years and I said to you, did you fulfill that purpose? What would your ideal purpose be?
Um, that's
As a company now,
yeah, as a
and in the
company.
position that you're going to take as Chief Customer
Yeah.
Officer.
When you go to the website, and you already gave me a good comment, but I think that the tagline Nallian is using is one that I really feel very comfortable. That is that how can we, and I'm going to use your word already, how can we enable the world to operate as one? And I think that is something I would really like to see happening, and I think that would really something that would benefit everybody. I think that's the most sustainable action we can do.
Very good, very good. On that means that even though I'm not a good journalist and I'm not a natural journalist, I get the chance to come back in a year's time and see if you've done it.
Absolutely.
And then, please God, we'll be able to do it face to face, and we'll be able to enjoy a little bit of pre and post interviewing.
Yeah, because we have some catching up on the beers anyway. So
We
and maybe I need a bit more than a year, but one step at a time. Yeah.
No, I doubt. I think you'll either do many steps or you'll take a few big steps. But knowing you and the way you do things, Steve, you'll be successful, and you'll be appreciated. And I take my hat off to you, my friend. I wish you the greatest of success. Good luck, and we keep in touch. And thank you so much for coming on, especially as it's just before you're going to start your new role.
Thanks a lot, Chris, and you're too kind again. But I appreciate it very much. It helps in giving me that energy to continue what I'm doing.
No, it is, and it's like I said, I showed you that piece of paper. I personally think it's a logical step, and just going back to what I said at the beginning, you lived it, you loved it, and now you get the chance to sell it. And for somebody who loves something and lives it, it should be a very easy sell, Steve, and lots of people will benefit from it. So good luck. Good luck to you, good luck to Nallian, and good luck to everybody that you deal with.
Thanks a lot, Chris. And the T-shirt with the slogan is ordered. I'll ask an extra copy for you.
Yeah. What did you say? Did you say extra copy or extra large copy?
An extra copy.
I thought you said extra large. I was going to say that.
No.
That would have been 2 whacks round the head.
No. I would not do that to a pretty good journalist.
No, I'm not a journalist, but I respect everybody. I'll tell you what, joking aside on that, what I've started to look at now is, if you look at some of the journalism with regards to COVID and governments, it's also negative. It's always trying to find out what could have, should have been done. But what you said earlier, as a politician or leaders of top companies, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. It's a very difficult job, and we should all respect it. But our industry has got some fantastic journalists, and I just think we don't allow that journalism, that reporting, and those skills to expand outside of our business. Whereas now I think we got the platform to do so. Some of those positive, if we were to come up with like once a month positive news, that could be distributed to everybody, I think people would be so shocked at the dynamism and at the way our industry is so full of agility and resilience and great people. It'd be a wonderful thing to sell.
Yeah, we all live in this kind of bubbles nowadays with this Corona. And I think that that the cargo industry was the inventor of that word, because we have for too long been living in that cargo bubble, and any news was really going around in that bubble, but for one reason or the other, we did not.
That doesn't get out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so we need to bridge it, tunnel it, or fire it out so that people start to realize what a great industry we're in. And I think lastly, full respect to everybody on the front line, everybody who's doing a great job. And for all those that have been displaced, Steve, please God, this industry will rebound quicker than anybody thinks in 2021. And they'll all get the chance to come back to the job and the business and the industry they love.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think that the end of this year will look so much different than the beginning. And yeah, there's light at the end of the tunnel. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, my friend. Good luck.
Perfect.
Take care of yourself and all the best.
Thanks a lot, Chris.
Cheers.